Good morning. We are able to see you. We are able to hear you properly.
Good morning.
And dear colleagues, friends, it's actually a great day for us. Our distinguished professor, Member of Parliament, and most responsive and responsible political person of our country is here. My duty is to, I don't think that Sri Jairam Ramesh needs any introduction, but I have to introduce you to the scholars here. Because as a political person, these days is very much vocal, is very present in all the newspapers. I would like to introduce the speaker of the day, two different capacities. To begin with, my relationship with Jairam Rameshji, that I am saying because what you are, as I said in the opening remark, what you are as a scholar is very much contingent on the interactive space that you get. And second dimension, I will be introducing Rameshji as his contribution in a very briefly to Indian economy. And third, I will be introducing him as a scholar. That is the reason why he is here. And what is relevant with the Professor Professor Jairam Ramesh is he's not a doctor. I told my PhD scholars that GIFT is not in the business of producing PhDs. You are not a PhD. But we are in the process of producing scholars. You are a scholar. Sir, I remember I met you in a seminar in 1986 in Center for Development Studies on industry seminar, where I presented a paper on Indian electronics comparison with China, with South Korea. So Jairam Ramesh asked me, "Arey bhai, tu नारियल के नीच कर बैठ कर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के बारे में रिसर्च कर रहे हो, दिल्ली आ जाओ." I went over there. The way in which he has helped me in connecting with the different people, Sam Pitroda, Hebalk, I mean, so many people. He really helped me in building my interactive space. And when I wanted a job, I remember he called someone without looking at his telephone directory or anything, 11 people. At that, 11 people he dialed. And of course, he got an offer, so I didn't take that. That's a different story altogether. Now, the point which I wanted to say is that when my book got published, I didn't see the book review on that. I didn't go short a book review with the title Micro Theory and Macro Implications. Dr. Raj called me by seeing. He called me home. I thought, what the hell he's calling? He told me that in his small diary, the small words, he has written KJ Joseph, this. Because getting a position in his diary in that small letter is not easy. He made a statement saying that now I feel that he has declined the post of Assistant Secretary General to UN before coming to CDS. So then I told him that this is made possible by the support of a whole lot of people, because those days without Jairam Ramesh's help, and in fact, immediately I took a photocopy of that book review by Arun Ghosh and sent him saying that much of the credit is for you for this review. Sir, this is a thing which I want to tell from my scholars that, it is very important that you should realize the potential of interacting with the people who know things outside the institute to do a good research. Now, Jairam Ramesh is B.Tech Mechanical Engineering from IIT Mumbai. Then he went to Carnegie Mellon, did his master's in science and public policy. Then he joined his PhD in MIT. He did not complete, moved to World Bank. And while in World Bank, he wrote a book, Mobilizing Technology for the World Development in 1979. Later, he came to India, worked with the different ministries. While I met him, he was OSD in Finance Planning Commission. When I got what this person's worth is, he was advisor to Abid Hussain, then member industry. When he wrote a report, Abid Hussain wrote a report on small-scale industry, almost 2 paragraphs was highlighting the contribution by this young man that was actually telling of both individuals, the greatness of the person to appreciate the merit of an young person, and also the merit of the person I'm referring to Sri Jairam Ramesh. Then he worked with Power Ministry, Industry Ministry, and in 1987 or 88, I saw the draft of 1991 July industrial policy with Sri Jairam Ramesh. He has told me, I remember at that time we were very much against liberalization, and he was very much the architect of those policies that India very much a part of that. And he was in the technology mission when Sam Pitroda was leading. People in Delhi used to say that Jairam is the brain of Mr. Sam Pitroda. He used to associate so much with them. And in 2004, he became the Rajya Sabha member and played an important role in the UPA government and forming the common minimum program. And in fact, in his appreciation and accommodative nature and the ability to appreciate different views came out in 2017. While he was in Trivandrum, he was delivering a public address. At that time, he was not in government. At that time, the Tripura Manipur government, the left government failed. While speaking, he said that India cannot afford to have a weak left. A Congress leader talking that India cannot afford, and that became the next day's newspaper heading. So then after during the second UPA term, in the first UPA term, he was in charge of Minister of Commerce, in charge of Plantation and Power. And as Minister of Commerce chair, he gave one of the biggest endowment to Center for Development Studies, 5 crore endowment for undertaking research on plantation, and established the National Research Program on plantation development. That shows his commitment. In fact, whom all I introduced to Jairam Ramesh, they were all very much encouraged by him, and his appreciation for academic community was incredible. In the second term, he was in independent charge of environment, Minister of Environment. And as a Minister of Environment, I remember on the same day I called him, how will you run this ministry which stands in the way of everything? He told overnight, in the night when I was calling, I will do what I am expected to do. He really did. It's one of the most proactive environment minister. When the question of BT Brinjal came, 24 consultations all across the country he has organized to decide whether India should go for a BT Brinjal or not. Finally, the decision was negative. Then later he moved to Minister of Rural Development as a cabinet Minister of Rural Development, and his role in furthering the world's largest anti-poverty, the MNREGA, and other things are well known. So what I'm not here to talk about, I'm not going to highlight his political contribution. I want to introduce Professor Jairam Ramesh as an academician. After his, as I said, after his, please open it. Now, his first book, he was a prolific writer. The first book, his first book was actually came out in 1979, Mobilizing Technology for the World Development, while working from the World Bank. And later, during this with the government, he has been writing, a prolific writer in all the leading newspapers, and he compiled all of them into a book, a very thick volume in 2002, Kautilya Today, on India on a globalizing economy. Then 2007, he came another book, Making Sense of Chindia. I think the potential of India-China cooperation. In fact, one of the chapters I was thoroughly, and he's hilarious in his, coining terms. And one chapter is titled "Sleeping in Two Beds, Having Same Dream: India and China." So now then he came with the book Green Signals: Ecology, Growth, and Democracy in India, 2015. Then next book was. This is an English translation of To the Brink and the Back, dealing at length with the experience of India's transition to new policy regime in 1991. That's published in 2015. Now, legalizing for just legislating for justice, the making of 2013 land acquisition law, yet another book in 2015. Then old history, new geography, bifurcating Andhra Pradesh, the Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Yeah. Then came Indira Gandhi, A Life in Nature. In fact, this is a, a, a book that beats any historian in terms of the archival work. The first prime minister, other than this prime minister of Sweden, to participate in the first Stockholm conference. This is a very, all the forthcoming books, Intertwined Lives, P.N. Haskar and Indira Gandhi. These are all well-researched work, historical accounts, which even any historian will feel happy in reading. The Checkered Brilliance, the many lives of V.K. Krishna Menon. Then this again translation that Indira Gandhi Life in Nature was translated to Malayalam, it was from to Hindi, to Light of Asia, the poem that defined Buddha. So here is a person with a dozen books, of which 8 were written, well-researched 8 books were written after 2015. That shows the amount of hard work, the amount of scholar, what kind of a scholar that we have, while again being so active and prolific in politics. Sir, we are extremely happy, and I never expected. I met you last week. You will tell that, okay, you will agree that you will come over. I know that you wanted to come at 10:30, but you had another commitments. You have to go elsewhere. So thank you very much for joining. On behalf of all the GIFT community, I wish you a wonderful new year again, and wish you all the best while welcoming you to Gulati Institute with continued support and patronage for us. Over.
Thank you.
Over to you, Jairamji.
Thank you, Joseph, for a very kind introduction. I think Joseph's introduction will be longer than what I have to say. But anyway, I thank him for a most gracious introduction. I have very fond memories of association with research institutions, particularly in Kerala, going back to the mid-80s, the Center for Development Studies, where I first met Dr. Gulati, after whom the Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, GIFT, is named. I had the good fortune, in fact, I still recall a dinner that I had in 2002 in the residence of K.N. Raj with Dr. Manmohan Singh, Dr. Gulati and Mrs. Gulati and Mrs. Raj. And that remains one of the most treasured evenings that I've ever spent in the company of such great economists and scholars. Now, GIFT, of course, is focused exclusively on public finance. Public finance in India, in my view, has not got the attention it deserves. Private finance, of course, has got and it continues to get attention. But if you were to, Joseph and I were sitting together and trying to recollect and enumerate the number of great public finance scholars that India has produced in the last 40, 50 years. And we found it difficult to come up with very many names. We had, of course, Dr. Gulati himself. He is the Bhishma Pitamaha of public finance. Then we had Raja Chelaya, who in many ways is the Dronacharya of public finance. And in our own time, we have Dr. Govind Rao, who in some ways could be called the Vidura of public finance. But if you remove Dr. Gulati, Dr. Chelaya, and Dr. Govind Rao, then you have a big gap. You have, of course, a lot of scholars working in this area, but I think it symbolizes the relative neglect of public finance as a scholarly discipline, that we are not producing the type of economists and the type of scholars that we need to produce in this area. Because no doubt in my mind that the central issue for Indian development and Indian growth is going to be public finance. How we are going to manage our public finances, how we are going to strengthen our public finances is going to be, in my view, a foundational issue for whether we grow at 6% or whether we grow at 7% or we grow at 8%. So it is central to the growth momentum of the Indian economy. Now, you are all in an academic institution and you're all PhD scholars. And I think you will be spending the next couple of years, 4 to 5 years of your time working on an issue, bringing depth of knowledge into that issue. But I also want to say that while you're doing your doctorate program, it's important to keep the avenues and roads for public engagement alive, because that is what gives research its topicality. That is what gives research its relevance on a day-to-day basis. So I hope that in the process of your dissertation and your research, which will consume the good part of 4 to 5 years at least, you will at the same time have public engagement on the issues that are very important. I mean, just to take one example, GST, which has really been a transformational move as far as the indirect tax system of our country is concerned, is relatively unstudied even after 8 years of its introduction. We do not have the type of analytical work, and I'm so happy that I heard just now, a few minutes ago, one of the PhD scholars saying that the topic that interests him is the impact of GST on MSMEs. I mean, I heard that and I was very happy to hear that. But that is just one example. And I think impact-oriented research is very few and far between in the area of public finance. In the 1970s, Indian economics produced very many scholars on agricultural economics. And these works had a great effect on our price policy, on our marketing policy, on our technology policy in agriculture. So the point I'm making is that, research can be of a theoretical type. That is also very important from an academic point of view. But I think we are entering a stage in which we need far more impact-oriented research. I would not say, that you should only do short-term research, but I think the type of detailing that is required to study the impact of public finance, for example, in this case, the taxation system of GST, or to take another example, the distributional effects of taxation, and whether the direct tax system that we have really is equitable, and it does provide for increasing of equality, is an issue on which a lot more work needs to be done. I mean, I find it very, very strange that Thomas Piketty has done more work using Indian tax data than Indian economists themselves. Where are the Indian PhD scholars? Where are the Indian economists working with our tax data in the way Thomas Piketty? Piketty has already produced 2 classic books using Indian data, whereas institutions in India seem to be totally unconnected with this issue. So I think I hope that the topics that are taken up for research are real live topics, because I think tax policy, public finance policy cannot be frozen in time. It has to evolve with changing circumstances. It has to evolve in the direction of equity, for example. It has to evolve in the direction of efficiency. I mean, these are all well-known objectives of public finance. But whether in fact it is happening or not is an issue that needs to be studied in great detail. So I think this is something that I very strongly believe in. And I believe that academic institutions like the Gulati Institute, and I was told a few days ago by Dr. Joseph that there is a possibility that the Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation will have a closer link with the GST Council. Now, if that happens, and I hope it happens soon, then I think the link between academia and the world of policy making becomes closer, the link becomes stronger, and that will only benefit the PhD scholars. Secondly, the second point I wish to make is that Indian scholars are notorious in doing research and not publishing. In fact, Joseph mentioned the name of Abid Hussain, and Abid Hussain once said famously, he told the Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, Mr. Prime Minister, please don't give export or perish as a national slogan, because Indian companies would rather perish than export. I mean, so like that, there is a publish or perish syndrome in academia. But Indian academics seem to prefer to the perish option to the publish option. And I think it's very important for young scholars, particularly like all of you who are gathered in this auditorium seminar room that I'm seeing in front of me, to recognize the centrality of publishing. You must publish your research. The best can become the enemy of the good. You can always wait for an ideal situation. But I think in order to make research more relevant, in order to make research more impactful in the real world, scholars must publish. My third point is that if scholars must publish, the channels of publishing must be robust, and they must have a certain sense of integrity. Today, with the growth of the internet, you have a large number of publication channels which do not undergo the type of peer review that other channels which are not in the social media, or which traditionally have been used to decide on publication or not. Peer review is the only known method for ensuring integrity of research. And therefore, it falls upon academic institutions. It falls upon scholars and professors like Dr. Joseph and his colleagues to ensure that they provide avenues for publication which are peer reviewed and which are a byword for integrity, and do not publish anything without undergoing a process of scrutiny that is so essential to enhance the credibility of the research. So I don't want to say much more, but I do want to say that you are in an institution which is new, which is growing, and which is in an area that is of central importance to Indian planning. And I think we should make use of these of this environment, and I'm sure that the PhD scholars I was glad to know that the first generation of PhD scholars have already come out of GIFT and are teaching in different institutions. And I'm sure that the young men and women that I have seen and listened to introducing themselves will recognize that they are in an ecosystem now which is relevant and which is going to provide them an avenue for carrying out meaningful research that is not only going to advance theoretical knowledge, which is important, but also impact on policy and impact on public understanding of issues of public finance. In fact, one of the paradoxes of public finance is that the public knows very little about public finance. This is one of the great paradoxes. You talk in public about public finance, it will be a most ill-informed discussion that you will have. So to educate the public about what are the sound foundational principles of public finance in India, what are the challenges public finance faces, I think is something that young scholars and academics should pay attention to. So I don't want to take much of your time. I just wanted this opportunity of interacting with you. And I hope in the next couple of months, I will have an opportunity of coming to the campus. I've heard much about the campus, and I would love to spend a little more time with you and talk to you about your research in pursuits and priorities and see how best the link between the real world and the academic world, the link between the world of policy and the world of research the two worlds can be brought closer together. So thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Jairam Rameshji. I think you could not have been more provocative, more insightful, and I'm sure your broad guidance with respect to the relevance of public engagement, impactful research, and relevance of being relevant to public by publishing. So I think that these 4 points which you raised in a context wherein, as you rightly said, public knows very little about public finance, and that we take it as a mission. And I'm sure my colleagues will take these points very seriously. And we very much look forward to welcoming you in person you said you will be in February, or so you'll be here during your next visit. We very much look forward to. If any of you have a few minutes of interaction, you can ask.
Sure.
Yeah.
10 minutes you can have. Anybody wants to ask me, yeah, sure.
And I think they need some more time to. I think they're completely lost.
Okay, let them relax. Don't put pressure on them.
I think we have questions indeed to ask you, because like, so for example, despite the enormous, I mean, I don't think that we ever had a dearth of institutions.
Yes.
Research. But why the importance of this topic in agriculture, for example, Rudra, Amit Badri, that mode of the production debate, we have been able to come up with our own analytical perspectives in understanding our agriculture development, and that led to very useful policies. But in the case of India, do you think that we have been very much happy with Musgrave and what we thought that, okay, the knowledge, what we need for a developing economy has already been produced. We have no burden of producing. We have to only use.
Well, Musgrave and Musgrave remains the Bible. you know.
Okay, you.
It's the Old Testament. You need a New Testament now. So Musgrave and Musgrave, what, 87, 60 years old now, you know. It's updated, of course. But, you know, we set up the NIPFP, the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, which I think was the first institution that Raja Chalaya set up to dedicate a dedicated institution for public finance. Subsequently, you know, there's been a lot of research. There have been a lot of young scholars who have come out in the public finance area. But I can't see how many Govind Raos do we have? That's the question I have. How many Chelayas have we had? How many Gulatis have we had? You can count them on the fingers of your hand. Why? On the other hand, when you look at demography, whether you look at industrial economics or you look at international trade, you agriculture, which is another very good example, you'll find, you know, a very large number of scholars who have made both scholarly contributions and policy contributions. It's not just making only scholarly contributions. So I think public finance, as I think all of you recognize, public finance has really not got the scholarly attention. You know, some IAS officer will deal with public finance, or some Indian Revenue Service officer will deal with public finance. But public finance has not been seen in India to be the subject of scholarly investigation. And I think that's why we are faced with this situation. And I hope that, you know, this gap will get filled.
Thank you, sir. I think this is precisely what, in fact, we consider that there is the relevance of bringing together very interesting bricks that Raja Chalaya, Govindrao, and others have created. And if we can put that together and we add our own brick and mortar, our own bricks and bit of mortar, can we articulate the institute could be evolved into a paradigm of evolving a public finance, sorry, developing economy oriented public finance. Because
Yes, absolutely.
if you
In
look,
fact, Musgrave is largely developed country public finance. I mean, you know, developing country public finance, I wouldn't, it was not the central element of Musgrave and Musgrave. There have been, you know, there have been some, I mean, Radhachalaya never produced a Musgrave, neither has Govind Rao. So we need to look at, there are factors peculiar to India, special to India, efficiency, equity, regional distribution. You know, some of the Finance Commission reports are very good in this area. The Finance Commission report produced by Venugopal Reddy, by Vijay Kelkar. I mean, these are very good contributions to the field of public finance. But this has to be brought together and given an academic sort of, you know, framework. What are the challenges that are specific to India? As I said, efficiency, equity, balanced regional growth. There are so many issues that are special to India that we have to look at public finance from a different perspective.
precisely, I think that is sufficiently stimulating and sufficiently challenging for my colleagues and the scholars. I think I'd like to thank you.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon.
I remember once again your help with for us in the when the 15th Finance Commission, our workshop in India Habitat Center. You came with Manmohan Singh ji, and in the COVID-19 and fiscal federalism, I remember the various way in which you helped us, and we look forward to how continued support, patronage, and be in touch with you and your guidance.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone. Now, with this overview, I think you would have received the way Gujarat Institute see the public finance research, and we are into it, and we are going to develop the complete program guideline for this year. This is particularly for the batch. So next 1 week, this coming week, completely we leave you to we explore what are the available resources and what are the areas the seniors are working with, and interact with library and all other faculties according to their time. And then we'll come back for your rigorous coursework from next week. So we'll have a meeting at the end of this week, as I mentioned, where we'll discuss in detail about each sections. We have almost 20 sessions to discuss with, starting from the coursework, course structure, and ethical practices, our financial assistance, how we are going to deal with the university with your academic fees, and the official records of doctoral committee, research committee, and then the attendance policy of the institute. You know that we have a very strict attendance policy, 80% attendance every semester, and this list will be sent to the university, and we have a punching system to record that. So you have to follow that, and you can check with your seniors how we are strictly following that procedure. And regarding the duration and all, and how we are going to have each year, starting from the coursework to the every year after the completion of the coursework, you have the 6-monthly presentations every semester in an open way, open seminar way, and you are going to experience it in the afternoon. So our first 3 batches presentations are going to happen this week, starting from today at 3:30 p.m. So you all can join, and you can interact during the session and after the session, and evening time with our senior scholars. So where you can have a good time. And regarding the coursework, as I mentioned, we are actually sitting with it, and by the end of this weekend, we'll have a complete picture, and accordingly, we'll inform at the end of this week, along with the academic calendar with 14 months coursework. Thank you.
You have, this is very important. You should be able to get insight from people who has a wider view of the world. That is precisely why Jaram Ramesh, I know the kind of issues that he says, with this disconnect which we have, and that's something which is an injustice. If the research that we do doesn't have nothing to do with the daily life of the people who are feeding us, and that is a cruelty that we can do to them. So the point is, that is when we talk of public connect. And without interacting with people around, I don't think that you can do any sensible research. So we will have a coursework. As part of the coursework, we are thinking of a field work. I mean, we'll come on. I don't want to elaborate on all those things which your coordinator has already said. And you must join for the afternoon sessions. Okay. This is actually scheduled to see that you are enabled to participate. You must, all of you must join. Those who are online also must join if possible. If possible, Allah. And we are very liberal, but when it comes to business, we are very strict. Am I right?
Okay. Thank you all. We'll join back at 3:30 at boardroom. Thank you.